All right, here we are. Here we go. We are live now. Today gonna have a talk with Sasha Bezrodnova. So we're gonna wait a little bit for people to join us. So for Sasha is a friend of mine. We got to know each other already some years ago. She's from Contact Improvisation. She's also involved in freediving. Hello, Marek. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Please come join us. Hello, Marina. Privet. Yes, I'm excited for today for this talk. As I was explaining, Sasha is involved in contact improvisation with freediving, water practice, some healing practice as well, as she has an interesting perspective in psychotherapy, psychology. So just waiting for her to join us. Meanwhile, keeping on joining. Hello, Yuri. So I'm here. I am in Florianópolis, Brazil. And today I heard, it was not today, but I heard likely the borders not be open for Brazilians in July when they start to open up. So which is a little, I feel a little bit bit sad, but yeah, it's a big challenge we're going through now, these pandemics. But that's how it goes. I'm gonna find a way to sneak through these borders because we have an event now in August, Play Fight Camp. It's going to happen anyways. Even if I'm not there, the team is going to facilitate. We also have an event in September in Spain, Movement Immersion. And I feel like, oh my God, like how Brazil is handling the situation is a big mess. So it's difficult to imagine getting worse here, but we never know. Hello, Rafa, capoeira guy. Let me check if Sasha is around. It's not there yet. Let's just be a little more patient. After all, one of the big skills we're developing now in this moment is to be patient. It's super hard when we are deprived of our freedom, feeling like attached in our hands, not to have the possibility to move around freely. It's such a suffocating time. So especially if you are suddenly alone in an isolated place. Yes. Hello, my friend. Now I see Sasha is joining. I'm gonna pick her up. Okay, it's coming. Looking forward. Hello, Sasha.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I will try to make the light softer, maybe. I'm here with you.
You hear me well?
Yes, I hear you very well.
Yeah, great. Now I don't hear any echo.
Yeah, great.
Take a little time now for you to go up.
Yeah. Yes, I'm listening to you.
Okay. I would like to greet you in Russia. Something like this. Shla, shasa, pashase, sasala sushku.
Sushka. Yeah.
So, I think it's going to take a long time for you to hear. Shall I try again, Sasha?
Try again what?
Because now it seems like you're frozen. This is spinning.
No, I'm not frozen. I'm fine. At least for me,
But for me, no, I don't see you.
You don't see me?
No,
Well,
no.
well, I can try to do like this.
Okay.
Now you see me?
Now I see.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome. It's great that you joined me here. Thank you very much. Fun. Explain a little bit who is Alexandra Bezrodnova. We got to know each other already for a few years. I think the first time we met was in Brazil at the Contact Improvisation Festival in Bahia in 2014, something like this, 2013. And ever since we've been developing a nice friendship. And you are also involved in freediving, in some kind of water practices. I would like to approach that as well. And I know that you have an extension of your professional career, if you can say like that, as you have some kind of a psychology background or some healing practice involved in psychotherapy, something like that.
Yes, not just a background. This is my profession. Yes, this is my main
profession. Okay, that's your profession.
I don't know anymore what is my profession, but I think that even when I teach freediving, I still teach it as a psychologist. Like
yes, and I think you have a very interesting approach to combine all these perspectives, and that's why what I would like to. The reason, the motivation to invite you here is to have a space where we can share things that I've been learning in one-to-one interaction with you. And I think this platform is a space where we can open up. And since I'm stuck here, I'm alone here, and then for me it's a pleasure to talk to people, but it is a bigger pleasure even when I can share what the privilege I have in interacting with people at a larger community. So perhaps if you'd like to check in, to tell how you are, where you are. I know you're in Thailand, but tell a little bit the dynamics we're going through now, just to have a little settling.
Okay. So I think I'm one of the happiest person in the world right now. We have a festival that we organize already for 9 years. That is Festival of Contact Improvisation in water and on land. And this time when all this thing with closing the borders because of coronavirus, when it happened just after the festival. So half of the festival couldn't go home. Like half of the people of the festival couldn't go home, including me. And we happily stayed in the same island where we were dancing, and we just kept dancing, and in water and on land. And it's a very small, remote island. It's really not many people there, people not really controlling us. So we had like, the thing is that many times my friends say, wow, when some good contact festival is happening, then it's generated so much connection and people are so warmed up and they are open-hearted and they have so much energy that it would be nice to put this energy into something. Like, let's say the festival is ended and it's like already a good team, so maybe we could build a house or or plant trees or do something that we would actually use this energy, not just to spread it around and not just to because normally the festival ends, there is so much energy, but then people just go home and this energy like goes with each one, but they don't keep doing things as a community, though in a way the community is created. So this time what happened is that the community was created and half of this community stayed there and it kept working as a community. So we kept sharing things, teaching classes, and for maybe first month or even month and a half, our schedule of sharing and teaching each other and learning was so dense that we literally didn't have time for anything else. It was so full of things that I literally didn't have time to open up my telephone and go into internet. I didn't do any internet work just because I was going, like starting maybe sometimes 5, sometimes 6 in the morning, and then going home only after the light was off. So yeah, it was very, very intense time. And also some people created projects just there in the island and starting like making ecological projects in the island and building houses there and dealing with the solar panels and so on, like really investing their energy into something creative, or doing like art residential things, or some dance projects. We did many like video shooting of movement classes. So it was like really a very powerful time, and it's just now it's kind of ending because the climate there, like the monsoon is coming to that island, and it became like just so windy and so rainy, and sometimes the rain can be like almost 24 hours. So most of the people went to other islands, to different islands. And I'm with the group of, now we're 6 people, we will become 8 soon, I guess. We went to Kotao, is another island that is like a mecca for freedivers and divers. It's a very good place to practice freediving. So we came here, me, Mario, with whom we used to co-teach, with whom we actually created this approach that is called ocean dance. It's like this is what Bruno also learned with us, is the technique of dancing in the deep water, in shallow and also in the deep water. So we came here to teach our beloved, to teach our couple partners to freedive, because they're not freediving yet, and also to dance in water and to have fun, because here there are sharks, there are turtles, there are other beautiful creatures. Yes. So yeah, and I'm really like, I think I'm the luckiest person now. I'm super happy. I'm in such a nice environment with so much opportunities for creativity and just enjoying. Yes.
So it sounds like you are going parallel to the pandemic. You're not really feeling so much the impact of the pandemic.
Well, I would say like this, like I'm staying in touch with my friends. Some of my friends got sick with the coronavirus, and I'm giving online sessions to support them. So in a way, I'm very much into it in some way, but I'm not experiencing it physically. Ranong is the province where was our festival island, and in this province there is no any case of coronavirus. It was completely clean. Wow. Until now. So yes. There was a funny moment there, because we kept the festival dance floor, and we kept dancing and making jumps and classes and but at some point it was already this how you call it, that you have to not go outside in certain hours. Curfew. Yeah, I confuse it with coiffure. Curfew. So when it was already this time of curfew, and some people from government came to the island, and they came, and in this moment we were making a silent contact retreat, because we decided if we have to cancel it, our silent contact retreat in Portugal, maybe we can make it just there on the island with people who are with us. So we did like 3 days of being in silence and dancing. And this is like, and it was happening our last jam in the morning of this 3 days of silent dancing, and suddenly some people from government are passing by and seeing us and start making photos of us. And after some time on the pier, also some people from government asked one of our guys, they said, "Are you dancers?" He said, "Yes, we are dancers." "Stop dancing." Yeah, because it was like really real fun, like to receive this message, "Stop dancing." So we had to take out the dance floor, but of course we couldn't stop dancing. But we really started like trying to obey the rules and not to come as a big group and do everything just in small group, and go more to move in the nature, in the forest, like not openly, not in the dance floor. and making more like art residence things than classes.
How is
Yes.
how is the dynamics like now in Total? People are allowed to go and practice free dancing. It's okay to socialize outside. It's more
Yeah,
flexible.
like if you go to the shop, you should wear a mask. When you come out of the shop, you take off the mask, and in some shops you come and who work there, so they are like very peaceful with it. And there was a moment that I came to a bank to change money, and inside of the bank everybody was without a mask, and I came into the bank and I put my mask on, and they looked at me, so they realized, okay, they also have to wear their mask on. They wear, and we start laughing, all of us, because it's like a funny situation, because we do it just formally, just because we have to. It's not that we are, yeah. Yeah, here, like, things work. Yeah, it's not many people here, but things work here.
There was one thing I'm very curious to hear, because you told me a little bit, you wrote to me, and I think I will talk a little bit with you about that, because I have a little experience with fasting, but I know that you've been through fasting. Yeah, in a quite extreme way. I remember you went through fasting together with Marius. I think we spent 40 days.
Yeah, about 40 days, yes.
On water. And recently you've been going under a super strict discipline. I don't know if it feels strict. At least you're eating very little, sleeping very little. So what's the motivation? Was something very natural, or something that you're sort of aiming for? What's the benefits? Is there a sacrifice? How is going this relationship to this? Very unusual. It's not something that people, they do it. Sometimes they do it with a very specific purpose, or it's something very natural for you. It just happens that you stop eating, stop sleeping, or sleeping very little.
Okay, so yeah, the main thing I can say, I think this is the main thing, is that I'm not a person who can go into something strict. Like I only can do what is pleasure for me. I cannot force myself to do something, like to follow some discipline, to have restrictions. I'm a hedonist. I only like pleasure.
Well,
so
40 days without eating, and you say this is a pleasure thing. It's like it's quite unusual.
Yeah, I can say, like, when I was like first time, I think it was about 3.5 years ago. Yes, 3.5 years. I think 3.5 years ago, when we went into this long fasting. That was for a reason. I wanted to, like, I discovered that there are like some bacteria in my body that I didn't like, and I was thinking, what should I do with these bacteria? And I talked to a doctor, asking her, because I told Mario, look, I have this bacteria. We both should take antibiotics. And Mario said, I will not take antibiotics. I said, but it doesn't make sense if I take them and you not. Like, he said, yes, but I will not take antibiotics because I know what is it, and antibiotics is very bad, and I will not take them. You cannot force me. And then I was thinking, wow, but I know that there are some natural antibiotics like curcuma and ginger, so maybe I can just use them. So I talked to a woman. She's actually a gynecologist, but also she's a nutritionist, like nutritionist. And I asked her, like, can I heal like these bacteria just with ginger and curcuma? And she said, because normally the people's bodies, they inside of your intestine, you have a very good environment for bacteria to reproduce. And until you are a very good home for bacteria, there is no point to try to kill them with antibiotics or whatever. Like, nothing will actually work for a long time. So it's better that you clean your body, you make it not a good home for bacteria, and the bacteria will go away naturally. Like, they will not stay there because you will not feed them. So she said, I suggest you to make like a long fasting with cleaning and I can support you, and I will be guiding you, and it will take long time. Are you ready? And it was just the point I was exiting to go to the airplane to Thailand. And I said yes. And then I called Mario saying, like, will you join me? He said yes. So she was getting us online, and we went through this. And for him it was hard. For me it was not hard at all. I really enjoyed it. Actually, this, like, I don't know how it is fasting in English, like what actually this word means. But in Russian, when we say fasting, we say голодание. And голодание is related to голод, which is hunger. So it's like our word fasting is related to kind of being on hunger, like hunger strike. And I think because of this, there is so much fear of it, because also for many people, there is like a very strong conception that food is life. If you don't consume, you die. Like, to be alive, you have to consume all the time. If you don't eat, you die. So, and for this, like, being in hunger is always related to something very bad and to suffering. And yes, but actually, this is just a conception. And if you really just stop eating, this is actually very good for the body, because it's to all the time digest the food. The body is using a lot of power, and the body is working. It's working to take it out. It's working to deal with it. Everything you put inside the body has to work with it, because the things don't exit by themselves. Like,
right. For the moment,
wow,
now you're not.
I see Paula Zacharias. Paula.
For the moment, you're not going, let's say, strict or specific fasting, but you just have a routine of eating very little.
Yeah, I will tell you now. I will get to it. So I just wanted to say that, like, if you have these conceptions that this is bad, then you will actually suffer. But actually, it's really good rest for the body, and the body, like, the mind becomes peaceful, the body is resting, and it has time to recover itself. If you have any disease, if you have something, like, the body has this time as vacations. But if your body is very, like, polluted, let's say, if it's very toxified, then you will have some time that your toxins will come out, because the body starts, like, as soon as you stop eating, the body is using this possibility to clean itself. And the moment it is cleaning itself, you will probably feel bad for some time. You can feel nauseous, you can feel weakness, you can feel like many things. But actually, normally people interpret it like, I feel weakness, it's because I don't eat enough, I'm weak now, so I better eat so to be stronger. But actually, it's this weakness just because there are many toxins that came to the blood, and they want to be taken out, and they affect your brain, and they affect your nervous system. And if you let this time pass and you keep cleaning yourself, then after all, you discover that actually you have lots of energy, and then the energy comes more and more. And after you are clean, then there is no more a problem for you to, like, to be without eating, because this doesn't anymore bring you to weakness. Because the weakness, I say, it's like the weakness, this feeling of weakness comes because the toxins are trying to leave the body. But also there is another thing, that if you fast, like if you don't eat and you don't move, then the body thinks that it doesn't need muscles, so it eats the muscles. But actually, if you move all the time, if you really invest in moving, jumping, running, dancing, then it's everything fine with the muscles, and then you have lots of power, and then you have lots of stamina. And I was surprised, like this year when I mean, like, starting from September, I started, like, running way more than I could before. Because before, when I was practicing fasting, it was mostly like fasting, but still I was having water, and I was having a lot of water. And lately, when I'm fasting, normally I'm not having water at all. I stopped drinking. And suddenly I got so much stamina that I could like do like sit-ups. Before I could do maybe 30. Now I can do like 200, and then I'm just bored. I can continue, but I'm just bored. I like before I was running like 1 hour a day, and now I can run 2 hours, and after 2 hours I still can keep running. Just also it's already too much. What can I do else there? So I do something else. Yeah, but it's actually a different different way of relating to energy, that the energy appears not only because of food. We can take food and take energy from there, but this is just one of the options. It's like electricity, like you can the energy of the sun, the tree accumulates it into matter, and then this tree goes under the ground, and then it becomes coil, and then you burn the coil, and then by burning the coil you have the heat, and with this heat you create electricity, and then you plug into this electricity, and then you use the energy. But it's very long way. Or you can just take the energy from the sun. Like
so that's
if you need,
why you think your body
let's say if you need to hit water, you can use all this long sequence, and after all you boil the water with electric kettle. Or you can just put the water under the sun, and the water will be heated with the energy of the sun, but it's much faster and it's much cheaper.
Under the sun, the water will not boil.
Huh? It can become very hot. It can become very hot, no problem. Maybe you don't need it boiled. Yeah.
And you don't drink at all.
You know what I discovered is that actually when I drink, let's say like this, when I drink, I want to sleep more. When I drink, also the body needs to deal with this water, and then I start sweating, and then like many things happen, and actually I have like less power than if I'm not drinking, and then I'm fine. There was a moment like how it all started, because I say like 3 years and a half ago I started like this cleaning process, and then I fasted with Mario, and then I passed to eating much less, because when the body is clean it absorbs really easily the nutrients, and you need just a little bit of food to nurture yourself, because normally your body has so much let's say residuos. How you say residuos? Like residual things. Yes. And also because it protects itself from absorbing what it doesn't need. If you put like too much trash food, then it creates like a mucus inside of the intestine to help itself to protect from the things of food that it doesn't need. So if you take away this mucus, then actually your intestine absorbs like a lot from each small piece of food. You don't need to eat much. This is one of the things. So then I passed like to eating much less, and also eating only raw. From that time I was eating mostly only raw food, and lately, and it actually happened in Turkey. You remember this? Like last September, you was in Turkey with us, and we were in this ocean dance retreat that we were studying dancing underwater, and it was there that I discovered that it's enough for me just to have a watermelon in the morning, and then all the day long I was full of energy, and in siesta time when everybody was going like to rest or to eat, I was going to run, and and I was teaching all day long, like from the morning to the night, and I was always full of energy. And then sometimes in the evening I was thinking, no, I'm an instructor, I have to be in my power, so maybe if I don't eat, I will maybe tomorrow feel weak, so better I should eat. And then I was trying like to make myself eat, and I was eating, and then after eating I was like, I cannot do nothing anymore, I just want to sleep. And then I discovered that actually food, this is what makes me having less energy and tired and wanting to sleep. And I, like some of my friends, they passed me contacts of some people who are not eating. And I just made calls and I talked to them and I asked questions, and they said, yeah, it's normal. It's like, it's possible not to eat at all. But then you also should stop drinking. And I was, no, I cannot stop drinking. I'm a free diver. And free divers, they really need lots of water because they dehydrate. Because when you are in the sea water, like you dehydrate very strong. and also all this like mammalian diving reflex that makes you also like dehydrate a lot. So I will not survive if I don't drink. They said, maybe better you experiment. Like don't believe us. Better try. And after Turkey, I went to Egypt with Mario, and we were free diving, and I was not drinking, and it was fine. And I discovered it was fine. Just I stopped sweating. and it was very nice, like to run sometimes like 2 hours long under the sun and not getting sweat. And I'm already used to it, and it's actually very pleasant. Yes, and since that, after Turkey, it was the moment that I felt, wow, actually I like also more things happened. It's not just it came by itself, but also like before Turkey, there were some moments that I found for myself a meditation that I liked a lot, and this meditation is it just came to me. It's like about being permeable, like being permeable to all the energies that pass through me. You know, like neutrino, they don't care if you're solid; they just pass through you. So it came to me, this meditation, that through all of my centers, through my head, through my chest, through my pelvic center, all the energies of the world, they just pass through me, and whatever I need, I absorb. Whatever I don't need, I just let it pass through, so I don't care. And it's a little bit like a sponge, you know, this sea creature, sponge.
Mm.
It's an animal. It stays there where it lives. It doesn't move. And the sea flows through the sponge. The sponge is porous, and the sea flows through it. It's like the life flows through the sponge, and it just takes in what it needs, and it doesn't take in what it doesn't need. So I was running every day and making this meditation, like sensing and feeling the things that pass through me, and that they are feeding me with energy. There is a question here. Somebody is asking a question. You don't eat at all, or it's just going somewhere? Or drink all, or how much is eat and drink, and what are the food? Like for now, because there were like moments that I was like not drinking, not eating for I don't know, 1 month, or sometimes like half of month. Last time it was like dry fasting for maybe 12 or 11 days. And now I'm just sometimes eating something for fun. Like if somebody next to me is having something tasty, I come and taste. But I'm not like going to, okay, I need to eat, okay, I serve myself a plate. No, I don't. Like, or like I was staying in Koh Chang, and in this island, for example, there are like, it's growing like cashew nuts and cashew fruits, and also the jackfruits and rose apple, and they are like really growing there. They are local. So sometimes it felt so nice to eat it, because it's like connection to the island, is like absorbing the, I don't know, like the chemicals of this island. So I was eating them sometimes, but not as something that I feel like if I don't eat, then I will be hungry. It doesn't happen, no. Yeah.
You know, in my experience with the fasting, I've been involved with the fasting more than 22 years. I never underwent a very long fasting. But what is today, they call this intermittent fasting. In that time, there was no name for that. It was something I just experiment myself. So I would also go like maybe 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, only water. And since 98, I kind of changed my eating habits. I don't take breakfast, for instance. Like breakfast is something that I can skip easily. I like to spend like many hours without eating. Today, for instance, I didn't eat anything. And I feel good about that. But after the third day, for me, I start to drop. And because at that time I was working a lot.
Start to drop? What it means?
My energy level started to drop very bad. I lost lots of muscular mass. I lost. And I was getting this misery. I was feeling very, very down, very weak. So I never went through a long fasting. But the idea of spending much longer time that you can imagine without food is very familiar to me. But what puzzles me, which maybe my mind is still gets a little bit confronted, when you say that you don't need to drink. That no, I hear this before.
For me, it was also, it sounded very crazy.
Yeah, for me, this
also for me, it sounded very crazy not to sleep. If I would push myself not to sleep, I would feel really bad. But what happens is that if I don't drink and don't eat, then I have lots of energy, and I don't need that much energy like to digest the food. And then actually I need to sleep much less. And lately, sometimes I sleep 20 minutes a day. Sometimes I can sleep 2 or 4 hours a day. It just depends. Sometimes I don't sleep at all and I still feel fine. Like before I cleaned my body in the first fasting, I needed 9 hours a day to sleep. And if I didn't sleep 9 hours, I was like, my head was cracking. I was feeling really bad from the morning and I was hating everybody. And it was really like I was having hard times. And lately it just stopped. And lately, if I even don't sleep, I still feel fine. And it's not now a kind of... Now I actually feel that if I sleep too much, like if I sleep 4 hours and more, then I feel that my body was not moving for such a long time. It's like it became like this. And especially like if you drink and then you sleep and it's like the lymph is not really moving and it's kind of getting swollen and and then like you wake up a little bit lazy.
You should offer yourself as like a volunteer for scientific experiments.
There are people who are doing now. So I think now it's actually it became a trend. It became really a trend. This like non-eating, and at least in Russia, there are like lots of people who are practicing it and sharing this experience. And there is even like online courses of prana eating. I'm not joking. Online courses. The people who already shifted, like they teach others and they support others. And I even participated in like I paid 3 courses like this, and I participated in 2 courses like this, and I really enjoyed what's happening there. Yes, and there is in Russia like some people, they kind of gathered into a little institute who are exploring people who are fasting, and they are inviting even for some people like to co-live together in one flat and be measured all the time, like to measure things. And they also were inviting me. I even wanted to go there, but then I realized, wow, I'm so busy with my things, I don't have time for this. I cannot like dedicate my life to it, because what happens to me is just what happens because it happens. It's not like it's not a goal, and I'm not trying to prove anything or like develop this. I'm just going through my own process and I'm doing what feels nice for me to do.
But you know, Sasha, what I'm very curious, because science somehow says that if it's very dangerous if you stay longer than 3 days without drinking. This is the common knowledge in science, right?
Yes, but it's not. But this is not science. What is saying this? It's common knowledge. Right. It's kind of common belief, but it's not the science, because it's not that the science really explored it. First of all, second of all, the thing is like when we say science, what is science? We can say there are certain experiments and certain how to say, interpretation data that people got in these experiments. If you name the experiment and the data and who interpreted it, then you say something that is a little bit at least similar, not to the truth, but these are the facts. Yes, and if you don't relate to any certain experiment and the interpretation of it, then what you say? Who says this? Like, and what is the science? This is one of the things. And second of the things, that science is not something solid. It keeps changing. Like before, we were relating to Newton's physics, And then we discovered that Newton's physics is just a part of quantum physics. So now we have to review all of our things and all of other science, because like if we think of how the science is organized, there are the science that are more basic, like mathematics, mechanics, which is physics, and then like so physics are built in mathematics, and then there is chemistry and biology and so on that are built upon this. And if in the basic science, in the mathematics or in the physics, something is discovered, something new, then all the rest of science has to change according to it, has to be reviewed according to it. And what happens now is that we already discovered that actually Newton physics is just part of quantum mechanics, but the biology is not counting yet with it. And the medicine that is built on biology is not counting yet with the effect of the electromagnetic field, with the ideas of the quantum mechanics. Like they are still based on the Newton mechanics. So actually, officially, now we cannot count biology as a science until it absorbs, until it accepts all these changes that are made in physics, in mechanics. For this, when we say science or we say medicine, is something that now it's actually kind of, in Russian we say it's like past ages, like previous ages, because they are not updated yet. And I'm, for example, I'm reading books, and I'm reading now a lot about neuroscience and about hormones and about how the brain works, and etc., etc. And it's funny for me because, like, for example, I was reading some books that are based on the experiments with the will and the self-control, and they speak about all these parts of the brain and neurotransmitters, everything, how it works. And they say that if you don't consume sugar for a long time, your will of power, power of will, then your power of will be very low, and then you will be not able to, like, to be strong in your decisions. And what I discover is actually if I stop consuming sugar, I actually become much more disciplined, and I actually have much stronger power of will than I had before. So I think that when they make these conclusions, they make it on certain people and on certain period of time, like a person who was always consuming sugar, and now for 2 days he's not consuming sugar and he's becoming nervous. But it's not the same what happens to a person who has different health conditions. And like we have to always understand that the experiments are also made in a certain group of people, and this group of people has certain characteristics, and people with different characteristics will probably give you different results. So science is very good, but it's not the ultimate truth, because they keep learning things and they keep developing, and it's not everything they already know, actually. Yeah, so
has become pretty dogmatic as well.
Yeah.
So science is made by scientists, and scientists are people, and people are biased. Yeah. That's for sure. But I would like to make a little analogy, because I don't know in depth what is going on, but the case of Wim Hof, it's a little bit similar, because what he is able to cope with a low temperature, let's say, very generally, we don't need to go into this detailed explanation of what the science is about, but let's say the belief behind science was saying that what he was doing was not possible for normal human. Yeah. But he volunteered himself to undergo these experiments, and now is a big hype. So now he's endorsed by science, that he's able to control the autonomous I don't know if the parasympathetic or sympathetic system, something that we usually don't have the capacity to control with our conscious mind. So somehow there was a crack, there was an opening, by placing himself, by giving his flesh to those experiments. And I think there was a little shift, there was a little acceptance in this way, because science, yes, is dogmatic and takes a long time. Even if there is evidences, things are point in different directions. There are lots of resistance in science because, as you said, if you change one single pillar of the whole scientific structure, you should change the whole thing. And if you do so, it means that you're gonna provoke a shift in people's life that would not be very comfortable. So then it's a different question about how much science has become a dogma. But I would be curious to see these people who are not drinking to go more how laboratories and experiments and to see what is going on the physiological level on to have a little bit more I'll say measures of something that challenge our belief system, because yes, it's a belief system. Once you have this belief system, I cannot stand 3 days longer than 3 days without drinking. So this creates a psychosomatization of a reality. Maybe it's not the reality, it's what we expect from the reality. And of course, if you have this expectation, then you can create a big damage. So I think the biggest challenge is not just to do this stuff, but is to change the perception towards this stuff, the practice. And I would like to make a link now to the current situation, because we're talking about medicine, talking about science, and you have now the pandemics, and it's affecting our lives in so many different ways. And the whole prevention that the world is taking now, putting people in lockdowns and all these quarantines and closing borders. I don't want to discuss about that, but it seems like there's some very vital piece of the puzzle that is missing here, which is what means for us to build up the immune system, to create an environment, as you said, something that I can relate. What you said is like the terrain theory, not the germ theory. But if you keep your terrain clean, it's like you keep your house clean, you can put lots of rats inside, and the rats, they have no food.
Nothing to eat,
It's going to abandon the boat, so you're going to leave. So I think in that sense, it seems like some valuable preventions are taken now, but we are missing other crucial knowledge for us to integrate on the individual level, on the community level. And how do you see you having this experience in your body? Then maybe you have a big distance when you look at the world and how the humanity is sort of in big conflict. People are experiencing lots of fear. People are panicking because we're facing this unknown situation of the virus. And now you have something that is an embodied experience. It's not an idea, not something that you read in a book. It's something that you can speak from your own experience. And how do you relate from your experience when you see the world under crisis and taking measures that is if somehow is also affecting the freedom of everybody? If you don't dare to face the situation with a bit more dignity, with a bit more integrity, it means that we are willing to give away our power. And then I don't know what's going to be the consequences later on. But I feel there's a tremendous importance now in cultivate a sense of well-being and holistic health that is not being included, not at least from the major institutions. We are dealing in a very unilateral way, maybe because of our whole historical background, our limited way of conceiving health. So what's your take on that? How can link what you've been talking in this current situation where there's a collective freaking out?
Okay. Well, I would pay attention to two things. One of the things is yes, like how we can support our body, how we can support our health from the, let's say, from the physical side. And the other thing is that because I'm the representative of a somatic approach that doesn't divide human for like physics and non-physics, like let's say it doesn't divide the body and the soul. we say that everything is soma, is the alive body, like all together. So I would also point attention on this, because there is like straight connection that people sometimes are not aware of, how our physiology is affected by our emotional state. Sometimes, like, people, when they try to like prevent themselves from some disease or heal some disease, they start like focusing on some, let's say, like on a physical matter, like what pill to put into my mouth to stop it, or like something else, like mainly this, like they're trying to, let's say, they're trying to solve the problems through putting something into the mouth. And it is very important to understand that when we speak about immune system, what is immune system, where it is, like when you say immune system, like where you have it in your body. Can you show me with your finger, like where you have the immune system? I ask you.
Next thing. System, to my knowledge, as far as I'm concerned, part of the immune system, it happens in the bloodstream, but I don't think it's only the lymph. I mean, also the tonsils here. I think it's a very complex system. You cannot aggregate that. But depends on the immune system. Talking about antibodies, talking about the T cells, the white cells. But I think it's all over.
Yeah, so it's all over the body, and very strongly in this system are participating the intestine and the lymphatic system, because lymphatic system is what takes with the blood, the liquids and the nutritions go into the cells, but they come back, like they are collected again, not with the blood vessels. The blood vessels only deliver things, and to take it back, like all these residues from the work of the cells, all these liquids that came into the cells and in between the cells, this is what lymphatic system does. It collects back the liquids and cleans them, and then brings the liquid back to the blood. From so let's say the blood vessels, they go from the heart and then back to the heart. So it's a closed system. And the lymphatic system is not closed. It's like the vessels that have open endings that are just there in the in between the tissues and in the tissues, and the liquids that are between the cells, they get into these vessels and the lymphatic vessels, and they all just come up, and after they are cleaned, also they go back into the vein, and then they go back to the heart. So it's very important that our body would would circulate the liquids and then, like, while liquids are circulated, they are also cleaned by certain organs, the thyroid gland and some other things that are helping to clean. But to make it happen, this is the thing, like the blood, it runs because the heart pumps. So the blood goes and comes back to the heart just because the heart is pumping, and the lymph is not coming back because something is pumping, because nothing is pumping it. And the only thing that pumps it is when we move. Like when we contract the muscles, then the lymph goes through the vessels. So if we are not moving, our body gets swollen, like because the liquids stay in between the cells and they are not taken back to where they would be cleaned and brought back to the bloodstream. Because like how the lymphatic vessels are organized, like they have, as I said, they have open endings, and then they have clapons, like each few centimeters, and these clapons help the lymph only to go one direction and don't flow down again, like don't go down again. So it goes like against the gravity. But to make it go against the gravity, we have to contract the muscles to make this power to come up. So this is only done if we run, if we jump, if we move, if we contract our muscles, and if we don't, it doesn't work. Well, the other way is also we can go upside down. Like if you do the handstanding, it also helps to make your lymph flow back to the heart. So actually movement in this sense, and the lymphatic system is obviously participating in the immune system. So if we don't move, we are actually not letting all the immune system that includes the lymphatic system, we don't let it work properly. So in this sense,
just to let you know that you have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes.
Okay.
Going to...
After these 5 minutes, we just finish, or we make another streaming? What we do?
If you feel like extending, usually
like let's say like you are the host, so it's up to you. I can speak forever. So you just stop me like half a minute before, and then we decide what to do. Okay. So one of the things is movement, and another part of the body that is strongly participating in the immune system is the intestine, because it is the intestine where most of the bacteria stay and live. And when the intestine suddenly, and normally these bacteria live there, but they are not getting into the blood. They are not getting into the organs. They are just staying there. We are well protected because there is this layer of cells in the intestine that is protecting us from the bacteria getting inside. But when this layer has, it's called like low level inflammation or low scale inflammation, when this layer of cells stop working good, and then the bacteria get in, and then these bacteria go with the bloodstream, and they get to the places where they will start working. They can get to the brain, they can get to some organs, and there they will affect us. So normally when we're getting sick, it's not just because the bacteria get inside of us. They are also inside of us, but they start being like they are activated because the intestine is letting them in. And this happens if we are in stress, the stress reaction in the body is what makes the intestine become transparent for the bacteria. And the other thing is when we eat something that is like fried or like lots of fat or let's say unhealthy junk food. This is what makes the intestine let bacteria in. But there is another thing, that there is a difference between virus and bacteria. Also, it's it's nice to know, and it's nice to understand that viruses and bacteria are working a little bit differently. But for both of these things, like a strong intestine and a healthy intestine, is something that helps to to keep the immune system working. And when it's weak, it just lets everything in. Yeah, and the difference between viruses and bacteria is that bacteria are a little bit bigger and they live between the cells, and viruses are super small and they get into the cells and they make the RNA and the DNA of the cells RNA. They make the RNA reproduce the virus. Bacteria reproduce by themselves, and the viruses, they make our reproductive system and the cells to print the viruses. This is why they are dangerous.
Okay, look, we have 1 minute left, and I feel this time we should extend that, because now you start to open up an interesting subject, and if you finish now, it's going to feel like incomplete. So maybe people who are joining us, we're going to conclude. I'm going to initiate again, make another live. And we don't go for sure for another whole hour, but just to have a little time for you, just to finish, because it's an interesting subject. I would feel a little bit would be ashamed that you have to stop.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So you turn off, and I join you again when you start over.
Yes, in 20 seconds now. 20 seconds. We're going to conclude that and open up again. Initiate another live.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
The exit or what?